Hi, everybody. Thank you, Gretchen. Yeah, it's a little bit bittersweet. I mean, I know it's not a forever, but
Right.
I really enjoyed being a part of this. It feels very special, and I look
Yeah.
forward to this time every week. So, thank you
Well,
for
me
having
too.
me. And
Of
those
course.
of you that have been here every week, it's been so fun for me to explore, and hopefully, you learned some fun practical things to help you with your voice. I really enjoyed the work, and there are some opportunities if you are enjoying what you're learning. There are some opportunities to continue to work with me. I do have a couple things coming up that I'll share at the end of the meeting. So, today, this is a super fun topic for me. Today, we're going to talk about I have a top 10 list of the top 10 misunderstandings that I see in my studio that singers and voice teachers like. A lot of voice teachers have some of these misunderstandings as well. So, we're going to just dive right in. Is it okay if I share my screen and do my Google? I have a little, it's a very simple Google slideshow.
Yes, I just made you a co-host, so you should be able to do that.
It says host disabled attendee
Oh,
screen
wait. Sorry,
sharing.
there you go.
There I am. All right. So here's my top 10, and I have to present. I always accidentally hit share instead of present, which is a different thing. So, my top 10 misunderstandings about the voice. All right, number 10, deep breath. We hear this thing called a deep breath, and we think that we should be taking a deep breath. And yes, that is a true statement, but there is a difference between a deep breath and a large breath. And there's also a difference between a deep breath and a large breath, and a too deep and a too large. So one of the things that I see a lot from people that are have trained a lot is that they actually over inhale. They tank up, they fill to the very, very top, and that is actually not almost never. I'm very careful about the words never and always, but almost never is that something that should be a goal in singing. We always want our breath, our inhale and our exhale to match the task at hand. They did a study of some very, very fine opera singers, and they never really inhale more than about 80% of their capacity. So that's super interesting. And then when you think deep, deep is different than large. Deep is deep, meaning we want to access the expansion lower and not too low. You know, we don't want to be, ladies, we don't want to be feeling like a great press against our pelvic floor when we inhale. That is a very bad long-term proposition for your female lady parts. So, yes, you should be feeling expansion low, but that's relative. That's a relative term. So, deep breath, you can start maybe turning around what that means to you, and maybe if you have some of those misconceptions about what a deep breath means for singing. Moving on. Oh, can I do this? I guess I'm gonna have to do that. Energy. Oh, I love this one. Okay. Energy. We've all heard this. We've been directed. You need more energy in your tone at this point. And our default is usually to just tense up. Okay, I'm gonna give you more energy. Like that. Energy is something that happens when things are in balance and everything is working together the way it's supposed to. So energy is not something that you can manufacture or just do at will. So if you are thinking I need more energy in my sound, it also doesn't mean move more breath. Um, Typically, it means that there's just something that's not showing up, it's not working, it's not turned on, um, or it's something else is working too hard, and so there's an imbalance in the structures and how they should be working together. So that one is one that I like to talk a lot about. There's a difference between energy and tension and effort. Those are three different words, and they all mean different things to singers, and we need to be really, really clear and precise about what they mean and how we are approaching our concept of how to increase our energy when we need that. Stand up straight. We all know that we should stand up straight, that we need to have good posture or good alignment for singing. But one of the things that I see all the time, there's actually two things. I think people think that their neck should be flat in the back, and it's not. It should have a gentle curve, and everyone's curve is different. So my neck might be curvier than the person next to me. And everyone does have an ideal curvature to their own spine. So it's not just about making your back flat like this. There should be curves in it, and they should be gentle and appropriate for your body. The other thing that I see with singers all the time is they believe, and I'm going to move my angle so you can see this, they believe that pulling the shoulders back and pinching in the back is part of good posture. But then what that does is it actually pinches off in the back and disallows rib movement, which is really, really crucial for singing. We want to have rib movement. So this, and then hyperextending the thoracic spine and to have a high chest, those things are actually pulling you out of your most optimal alignment. So the word stand up straight, I never say that in my studio ever. I never say stand up straight. I have other terms that I use instead to help bring into mind the concept of balance of all of the structures. Support. Oh gosh. Okay, this is a big can of worms, right? Anytime I talk about support in my studio, I use air quotes because this is one thing for me growing up. When teachers would talk about support, I was just like the big floating thought bubbles with question marks over my head. Did anybody else have that? Yeah, Gretchen's hands in the air. And because I'm in share mode, I'm not really able to see. I think I can get the chat up. So you guys, I would love to have interaction as we go as best we can. So if these resonate with you and you're like, oh my gosh, yes. Or if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat. I just can't figure out quite how to access it, but hopefully I'll be able to do that.
Yeah, you can, at the bottom of the screen, I think you can do chat, and then at the top of your screen, you should see a thing that says view options.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's because I'm in my Google thing. I have full, because I'm in present.
Okay,
Don't
yeah.
see that.
If you click view, okay, if you don't have view options, then never mind.
Yeah, all I have is the Google. So
Got it.
you'll have to help me with that, Gretchen, okay?
Cool.
So support. There's a long list of things that fall into this category. One of my I'll share with you my biggest misunderstandings when I was trying to figure out what support meant. I thought support meant squeeze my ab muscles like somebody was going to punch me. So like your sit up muscles, I would be like, okay, now I'm supporting my sound. But then I had that sound and it turned into like some really wicked muscle tension dysphonia over the years. Another concept of support is that I thought was that there was rigidity that came with it, that I like literally my body like needed to lock up, that I was supposed to squeeze my butt cheeks, that somehow squeezing my butt cheeks helped with my support. Does this resonate with anybody? Like anybody else have those things? And my teachers would say, yeah, I got to squeeze the dime. And I'd be like, okay, I'm not sure why that's supposed to help me, but okay, I'm gonna try it. Oh, it just popped up. Now I can see the chat. Yay! Okay, somebody else says yes. Thank you. Okay, awesome. Yeah. I've also had teachers tell me to squeeze my P muscles. And there is a reason why they say these things. My first exposure to breathing coordination, I did a 5-day workshop, and the whole time I was in the corner just going, that's what that means. Because he went through all of these different things that teachers will say. And I'm like, oh, and that's why this teacher said this and this teacher said that. And they seemed to be completely opposite. But it was like they only saw one little piece of the picture, and when you put them all together, it all kind of made sense. So the pelvic floor is part of our support system. Oh, yes, Ashley, great. Yeah. The pelvic floor is part of our support system. The pelvic floor and the diaphragm. It's the top and the bottom of the flexible canister that is our abdomen and thorax, right? So anytime the diaphragm is in play, the pelvic floor is kind of the counterpart to that. The game changer is that just by squeezing your P muscles, all you're doing is locking your pelvic floor. By squeezing your butt cheeks, they're trying to trigger you to somehow activate your pelvic floor. But most of the time you're not, you're just locking it. So there are some people that are pelvic floor experts. I am not one of them. But once I understood, oh, my pelvic floor is just part, yes, 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 yes. The pelvic floor is part of it, and it's a dynamic, flexible interplay between the different structures that are going to adjust. So, what I say, if somebody asks me what is my definition of support, I'm going to go back to Ashley. What I like to say is support is, well, and I don't even say, I don't start with support. I say, when we sing, there are pressure changes that happen in our body. These are natural, they are supposed to be there. Pressure changes, it has to do with physics. And because we live in the natural world, we are subject to the laws of physics, whether we want to be or not, right? So these pressure changes happen when we're singing. And it is how our body reacts to and manages those pressure changes that is our support system. So what I like to do is I like to build a flexible, dynamic reaction to the pressure changes where it's a stretch and hold. Or not hold, stretch and hug is the word that I use. I don't know why hold came out of my mouth. I never say that word. Does that happen to anybody else? Where they're like, that word literally never has come out of my mouth. I don't know why it just came out of my mouth. So it's a stretch and hug mentality, as opposed to a push or a squeeze or I'm just going to lock my muscles up and hope for the best mentality. The term that my teacher, Robin DeHaas, if you guys don't follow him, he doesn't actually post a lot about social media. He just likes to post his vacation photos, which cracks me up. I'm like, okay, great, Robin, we get it. You're in Tahiti and you look great in a bathing suit. Awesome. But he's brilliant. In my opinion, he's the expert in the world on breathing and support, and he's the one that that really opened my eyes to this world. Thank you, Gretchen, for the follow. DE capital HAAS. He is Swiss, but he speaks English. We call it Franglish because some of his words are very cute. But he's very, very brilliant. Yes, thank you. That is perfect. So, and yes, Cynthia, you are absolutely right. Absolutely right. I see this in flautists. I see this in trumpet players a lot. There's way, way, way too much breath pressure because you do have to have pressure, especially at high intensities and at high volumes and higher pitches. The pressure does increase. It's supposed to. But we have this all or nothing. Yes, and there's resistance, but it's a dance. It's an interplay between what you are giving the instrument. In our instance, it's the voice, and what the instrument is giving back in the form of resistance. So what we usually have is an all or nothing or a binary mindset where I'm just turning on my support system. I'm either on or I'm off. I'm giving it all or a nothing. And really, really it is a sliding scale of resistance and counter resistance. And it's a dance. It's not antagonism in a aggressive, combative way. It's more like the friendliest game of tug of war that you've ever played. Does that fit with what you think, what you've experienced, Cynthia? Just giving me 2 thumbs up. Awesome. So, and yes, Gabrielle, we'll go through the slides one more time at the very, very end. We'll go through really quick. Okay, so yes, airflow. Number 6, airflow. Most people agree when you talk to voice teachers and singers, we agree that we are supposed to have a slow, steady outflow of air. But yet in the reality, then when they actually go and they practically are trying to apply that, their outflow of air is much, much faster and greater quantity than is actually necessary. And they believe, going back to our earlier myths, that airflow is the same as support. So if I need to support more, that means I need to move more air, or I need to push more air, or I need to push it out harder. there's lots of ways that these myths interplay with each other, by the way, too. So one of the most famous and really effective ways to monitor your airflow for singing is the candle exercise. If you light the candle and you put it in front of your mouth, and then as you're exhaling, it shouldn't be wildly fluctuating around. And so this goes back to, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. They used to do this exercise. But a lot of people, it only works if you have the candle close enough to your mouth. If your candle's way out here, you can't just go, well, I can't do it here, so I'm going to move the candle out here. That's cheating, right? So I like to, like when I do it, I'll do it with a feather, just because I don't like to play with flames in my studio. So you put a feather right in front of your mouth, and you can see the little tendrils of the feathers fluctuating. And so it's to keep that steadiness, and you'll see it like the feather just is going nuts. And that means that your airflow is too fast and perhaps in too great of quantity as well. So airflow, that's one. Oh, I love this one. I get so excited, you guys. I'm such a geek. Okay, open throat and tongue. We need to have an open throat for singing. And so what people think is that they're going to drop their tongue to get it out of the way. And that's actually, and I still see this, I see this more in classical than I do in pop and musical theater these days. But they'll go, okay, I'm going to open my throat. And then, my tongue is really low. And you hear that's not necessarily the most pleasant sound, right? It's my strangled tenor impression is what I call that. So open throat, to make more space in your throat, the tongue should be high and forward, actually. So what I like to say in my studio is pretend like you just got a tongue ring, and you go, hey, Mom, look at me, I got a tongue ring. And you show your tongue like that. You'll see some belters on Broadway do that, where they stick their tongue out. Or Adam Lambert, he's a classic example. He's always like, yeah, when he goes into his high note. And there's lots of nuance. Like, it's not just stick your tongue out, because you can have a lot of tongue tension and it'll still not benefit you. There's another prong to this. The other thing is people think that the ah vowel, you need to have a really open throat. And it's actually the opposite, you guys. You have an open mouth on an ah vowel. Tongue position is everything. Everything when you're trying to build resonance. So in an ah vowel, the tongue is supposed to be high in the back and low in the front. Ah, and the tongue actually, it is the furthest back in your mouth on the ah vowel. So the space behind the tongue is narrow if you're doing an ah vowel correctly. An E vowel is the one with the most open throat. The tongue is high and it's really far forward, and there's a gigantic space behind your tongue. And that for probably 99.875 of us, that is the opposite of what our perception is of those two vowels. So we're fighting perception versus reality. We're going, well, I need to have an open throat for my ah vowel, so I'm going to try to open my throat. And it creates a tremendous amount of tension in your sound because you're trying to fight that. So it's a trick. Play around with that. I can see people are like, they're trying to figure out how that works. So play around. This is a great shower thing to explore, because I know that's what we all do. The tongue. Oh, I just kind of did 5 and 4 together. Sorry. But there are other things I can say about the tongue as well. The tongue is my new favorite obsession. I get really obsessed about body parts, and I spend 3 to 6 months just like diving into everything I can learn in the literature about it, and then applying it through the lens of my worldview of how I can integrate it into what I do. In general, people think that the tongue needs to be relaxed. The tongue actually should be active, and it should be very flexible and very mobile. So what we were just talking about with the ah, we don't want it to lay on the couch and be a couch potato. It needs to be high in the back. It needs to move into the position we want it to be in to create the best acoustic advantage for our sound. But then it should not be rigid. It should be like, I like to be in this position for my ah. and it just kind of drapes itself wherever in the mouth without any excessive tension and without extra assistance from the jaw. So your tongue should be mobile. One of the things I love to do in my studio is we play lots of tongue games to get the tongue strong, flexible, and smart. Most of our tongues are really dumb, you guys. They're dumb and lazy. They let the jaw do all the work, and they're just like, but I just don't want to do that. I don't want to move. I just want to lay in your mouth. Can I just lay in your mouth, please? It's my tongue impression. So we do lots of strange, crazy things with our tongue in my studio. Okay, next. Oh, my voice is just like that. I get this a lot. Like this is more of a mindset thing, a fixed mindset. And I'm gonna go two different directions with this one as well. This is like, I'm gonna start to sound like Yoda here in a second. So bear with me, okay, you guys? My voice just doesn't do that. My voice doesn't like to do that. I hear this a lot with people that have, like they think that there's a hard limit on where they can take their chest voice, or if they can sing in their chest voice, or if they can sing in their head voice. And they get stuck instead of exploring the unfamiliar and be willing to be really bad at something for a minute while you're building a new skill. They assume because they're bad at it right now, this second, that it's not something that they can learn and acquire. And the story that I love to tell is, when you were a baby and you took your first step, you fell down. And you did this, well, unless you're a freak of nature, you did this many times over a period of days and weeks before you were able to walk and then run. And if after the first 3 or 4 times that you did this, your mother said to you, yeah, you're really bad at this. Maybe you should just like not do this. This is not your thing. You never would have mastered walking and running and skipping and jumping and all the things that you know how to do now today, and hopefully are fairly fluent in your skill level, right? And there are some parts of our life that we're very comfortable in accepting that, okay, this is a new skill. I'm not good at it. I'm going to learn. Some of it we're forced. Like in school, we're really bad at writing usually. Like the first time you wrote your name, I'm pretty confident you were really, really bad at it. But you weren't allowed to give up. So sometimes there were a lot of tears and frustration, but you eventually mastered it, just like walking. And the best way to go about it is like when your mom was helping you and cheering you on every time you fell down. You took a step and you fell down, and your mom went, yay, that was awesome, let's do it again. She did, by the way. It's like instinctual, right, moms? You all do that. I know the moms, you're like, that's the coolest thing ever. And the baby falls down and looks at the mom and goes, and you go, yeah, it's okay, do it again. Failure is part of learning. You guys, that's like one of the most important things to build into your mindset. Failure is a natural part of learning. So fall down, have a sense of humor, get up, go, wow, that was really bad. That was really bad. That was an epic crack in my voice. Wow. Okay. So now I know my voice can do that. And hopefully as I continue to accept this and just keep trying, it will get better. But what I see a lot is people will try 2 or 3 times and just be like, yep, this just isn't going to happen for me. And their mind isn't even open to the idea. Okay. And now I'm going to go a little this way with this concept. So because this fixed mindset is so pervasive, when I give a new concept, this is the Yoda coming in. So let's try something new. And we examine this concept that is brand new. Like maybe the idea of the stretch and hug is a completely foreign concept to you. Yes, Ashley, I love that. I give you permission to fail. Yeah. I will say all the time, guess what? I fully expect you to sound awful when you do this. I don't care. It might really suck. I'm okay with that. I'll say that all the time. Your vocal warm up, tongue exercises. So we'll examine a concept. We're like, all right, we're gonna do this, and it might be bad. We have all that lined up. Then what happens is the singer goes, all right, I'm gonna go for it. And they try to take this new concept that's completely unfamiliar and completely foreign, and they're gonna try something new, and then their body tries to insert it into what they already know. I'm going to give you a second to think about that. So this brand new concept of support that you've never heard of before, then you try to apply it and get it to fit inside the concepts of support that you've already been living with for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. This is something that happens below the conscious level. It's not something that people do intentionally. They go, yeah, I'm open, let's do it. And then their body goes, yeah, but this is our worldview. The term I've been using lately is inherent bias. We have these biases about singing that we don't even know that we have. And that's when the fun starts, when you can open up your mind to the idea that, okay, what I'm about to feel literally is completely unfamiliar and something I have never, ever felt in my entire life. Or maybe I felt it, but never in the context of singing. And when you can start to learn to live in that mindset, then the inherent, when the old pops up, you feel it and you go, oh, no, no, no. Remember, I'm doing only new. This is all just new right now. That's old, so hit the road, Jack. But sometimes it's really hard to sensitize yourself to be able to really feel it when it's happening, feel the old stuff. Hopefully that sounded like English to you. This is a really hard concept for me to describe to people. But when people can get in that lane, that openness, and that really a true seeking of the unfamiliar, like an adventure into the unknown, right? That's when really exponential growth can happen with your voice. So there's that. Forward resonance. This is one of my big soapboxes. I should just call this Crystal's soapbox list. I like to stand on a soapbox and preach about these things. Forward resonance. Okay, so we all heard put in the mask. You need to have forward resonance. Musical theater singers hear this way more than perhaps some other forms of singers styles. But what we think is that it's something that we do and that we need to make happen. Forward resonance. When we're singing, there's actually two pockets of resonance. Again, we're going to go back to science. There are two pockets of resonance in every vowel. One is on top and in front of the tongue hump. They call it the tongue hump. It's like the tongue is an ottoman that separates the room into two places, and it's a flexible ottoman, so it's like a jelly, right? So wherever the tongue hump is, there's a front room. My colleagues, if you're into the voice sciencey thing, sorry, I'm going this way, but I want to give them a shout out. Voice Science Works. You can find them online, and I don't know if they have a really strong social media presence, but they have a very robust website of voice science research, like not research, education. So they do a phenomenal job of breaking down really like mentally painful voice science concepts into things that you can understand and apply. They do a great job of that. Voice Science Works, David and Laurel. So they like to call it a front room and a back room. So there's a front room of resonance and a back room of resonance in front of the tongue hump and in behind the tongue hump. Every vowel has it, and they change depending on the vowel. So if you're focused only on front resonance and forward resonance, you are only using one of the two rooms that we are supposed to be using to have a well-balanced sound. So when you hear from a coach or you've been told you need to work on bringing your sound more forward, putting it in the mask, usually then the misunderstanding is, oh, I got to get it out of my throat. So then you close off that back room altogether. And now you're only singing with forward resonance, which creates an unbalanced sound. What we really want is for both rooms to be resonating in balance with each other without excessive tension, which then comes from tongue position, making sure you have a solid concept of support. Your alignment is where it's supposed to be, and you understand your airflow and how the airflow interacts with the vocal folds as you're singing. So just putting it forward isn't going to fix anything, if that makes sense. It's voice, I'll type it. It is voicescienceworks.org.com. I don't know. If you do that search term, it should pop right up. But yeah, they do a great job. They also do workshops, Gretchen. They also do workshops. And I can do some of the same concepts, but they've already got like a whole thing. Like they're slick and super fun, but they're definitely for people that are like sciencey, nerdy, kind of geeky people, but want to understand it better. So it's not going to be for the person's like, can I just sing a song, please? They're not going to be for that student at all. Okay, so last but not least, how am I on time? Oh, I'm good on time. Yay! That there is a right and a wrong way to sing. Also, I will hear from people, I want to find my real voice. I want to find my true voice. What's my true voice? And my answer is yes. It's all your true voice. Every sound that comes out of your body is part of your voice. So when we talk about the right and wrong way to sing, and we have to be careful here, because if there are different types of sounds that you make are going to be more costly, if that makes sense. If I do a blood curdling scream and I push a lot of air through it and I make my body very, very rigid when I do it, that is going to be very costly to me. So I usually choose not to do that. It's like a bank account. One of my teachers used to talk about living on your interest instead of your principal. You want to think of every sound that you make either putting money in the bank or taking money out of the bank. So if I'm doing that blood curdling scream, it might be clearing out my bank account for the next 3 months, right? But it's not that I can't do it. I'm not forbidden. There's no voice police that's going to throw me in jail. It is my choice. Most vocal noises that we make are not going to be that costly. Most are going to be either a net zero, where it's like it doesn't cost much, or it only costs me a little bit. But where the magic happens is when you can learn to sing and it actually puts money in the bank. That's what we're trying to do. And now there's lots of ways to put money in your bank. So it's like those algebra problems where there's more than one answer, or is it geometry? Like it could be -2, 1, and 0.35. Do you guys remember those? Where it was like more than one answer? Those always drove me nuts, by the way. I don't know about anybody else. But to achieve, let's take an example. To achieve a belt, there are about 18 different things that could be ingredients. Or no, let's do this. Let's talk about chocolate chip cookies. I have my favorite recipe of chocolate chip cookies. When I nail it, they're pretty awesome, I'm not going to lie. Julie probably also has a recipe that probably works out pretty well for you, right? And chances are our recipes are not identical, correct? Chances are I might like a little more brown sugar in mine. I don't know. I like to go a little heavy-handed on the brown sugar, and I like to add cinnamon, and I like milk chocolate chips, right? And so maybe, and she's going, oh, maybe, yeah, okay, right? But anybody that we give a chocolate chip cookie to is going to go, oh, that's a chocolate chip cookie, and oh, that's good. I like that. If we hit our recipe. Sometimes, sometimes they just don't work out. But usually, especially at my age, I've made enough chocolate chip cookies now that I can pretty much nail it every time. But, and there may be somebody that prefers my chocolate chip cookies to Julie's. And other people may prefer Julie's chocolate chip cookies. But they're still chocolate chip cookies. So when we're talking about a belt, it is not one recipe. There are some similarities. There's flour. Sugar, flour. How's that song go? Butter. There are similarities. And you don't want to put in a cup of baking soda. It's not your, my daughter tried. My 11-year-old who, she's my youngest, she's 4, and, or she's my youngest of 4. She's 11. Again, words coming out of my mouth make no sense. And just, she loves to cook. She sees everybody else cooking, so she's like, she tries to cook. And she's always doing it when I'm not in the room trying to bake. And I'm like, did you follow the recipe? Because these are really not chocolate chip cookies or whatever it is she's trying to make, cake or whatever. Like a month ago, halfway through quarantine, she finally made something and it worked out. And I'm like, what happened? What'd you figure out? She goes, I realized that I actually had to do this the right amounts. Like she just saw sugar, flours. So she just like threw it in the bowl. She just read the instructions. She didn't read like a cup of flour. She said, she read, put the flour in the bowl. So she put the flour in the bowl. Isn't that the best ever? But this is how we usually approach singing. We know that we're supposed to use air, so we just put the air in the sound. We know we're supposed to engage to support, so we just have the muscles show up. And we just hope for the best that we're using the right amount and the right quantity at the right time. So, and this is where it gets really crazy. What's going to be right for me may not be right for Gretchen, may not be right for Julie. Everyone is different. We all have a unique set of coordinations that is going to put money in the bank for us every time that we sing. And that's what I want you guys to take away more than anything else, is that it's not, singing is not a set of principles that is one size, no. It is principles, it's not rules and laws that are one size fits all. Engage your core. Okay. That's pretty broad. Like, what do I do with that? You know, and so we tend to just like have an all or nothing mentality. And it's the dance is figuring out, okay, I need this much in this area at this time for this note on this vowel when the moon is in this phase and I'm in this mood. That is the right way to sing. And I'm wearing purple. When I'm wearing purple, I support this way. But when I'm wearing green and I'm feeling sassy, I might need to engage a little differently. And it's getting to know your body so well that you don't have to think about it. It's literally, it's like old married couples. How many years have you been married, Julie?
Wait, 8.
38. She's been married for 38 years. You guys, that's awesome. Okay, so when Julie and her husband are, if you're in the kitchen at the same time, or just moving in your house or in your bathroom or your bedroom or whatever, you have done it for so many years, you understand the traffic patterns. You probably don't bump into each other as much as maybe when you were first, the week that you moved into your house together after you got married, right? There was a lot of, sorry, okay, how does this work? Now it's like this dance of just, the stars rotating or the planets orbiting around each other, which becomes very beautiful, and we take it for granted after a while. But that's what we're looking for in your voice. That's what we're seeking, is to build this kind of subtlety of coordination where it's not something that you're doing or making happen, but everybody understands their role. I'm talking to your body parts now. They all understand their role. And they go, oh, you need me? Okay, I'm here. And this is how much you need? Great. Does this make sense, you guys? Okay, awesome. We have a couple minutes left. I would love, I'm going to go back because somebody was asking me to go back through the top 10. All right, go through the myths one more time. So we'll do this really, really fast. And then what I would love to do with the time we have left is if anybody has something that really resonated with them at any point in the last however many weeks this has been, because I know I've seen a lot of the same faces over and over and over again. I would love to hear what your takeaway was. Like something that you feel like is really going to stick with you. that perhaps change the way that you think about your body and the way you sing. So, but let's
Yeah,
go
and
through them fast.
if you can think of them right now, and then when we're ready, raise your hand and I'll unmute you.
Awesome. Yay. Okay, so deep breath. There's a difference between a deep breath and a large breath. Energy is different than tension, is different than effort. Stand up straight. We don't stand up straight, we stand up curvy in appropriate amounts. Support is not rigid and fixed, it is flexible and dynamic. I hope this is what the person that was asking me, I hope that I'm giving them what they're asking for. Airflow. Our airflow is typically faster than we think it's faster than it needs to be typically. Typically, what we need it to be a little bit slower, which doesn't mean to squeeze your throat. It just means it moves slow because it feels like it. It's a lazy river, not whitewater rapids. Open throat, tongue. That one's, sometimes you got to get the tongue up and forward to open the throat. How about that? The tongue should not be lazy. It should be active, yet free. My voice is just like that. No, it's not. Forward resonance is not something that you do. It is something that's naturally occurring. And when your voice is in balance, you will feel both forward and backward resonance, which is different than tension. Singing in my throat. That is not backward resonance. That's backward tension in my throat, which then creates this sound, which is super fun. The right and wrong way to sing. There's no such thing. We're not living in a binary world when it comes to singing. There are many, many, many ways to skin a cat, so to speak. All right. I hope this was fun. I love my soapboxes. I love them so much. All right. Does anybody have?
Do we have?
Thank you guys. That warms my heart. I'm telling you, this has been a highlight for my quarantine.
Same.
So if any, I'm just so happy to hear that people are really hearing me and getting what I'm hoping that I am delivering. So yay. For those of you that wish to continue your journey of discovery with me, I do have, I'm accepting one-on-one students. Now I'm actually wrapping up my 4 universities. I'm in my final week of teaching. Yay! So I am going to have some spots available for private coaching, and I'm coaching online. Plus, I have a 5-day, I'm calling it Practice Like a Pro challenge that will be starting June 8th. There are limited spots. It's going to be on Zoom, and it's going to be work. It's going to be a little more like our foolproof vocal warm-ups that we did last week. It's going to help you to establish a good vocal routine. We're going to build motivation and accountability. We'll be doing body work, breath work, singing, and vocal function exercises. I know that's very sexy, but we're going to be doing exercises that specifically build strength, stamina, and range for your voice in every day. So if you are interested in that, just shoot me an email, and I'll make sure that you get that information. So I'm going to drop my email in here right now. It's crystal@crystalvoicestudio.com, or if you go to Crystal Voice Studio and you message me on all the platforms.
All the things.
Yeah, all the things. I will. I promise I will get back to you. It might take me a couple days, but I promise that I will. So hopefully I'll see some of you guys there.
Guys, that is an amazing opportunity. I hope you take advantage of it. Crystal, you are incredible. Everything that you have given us over the last 2 months. I think we have now, after these 2 months, we've provided 229 classes, and you have been a part of all of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. This has just been incredible. And like she said, please follow her, email her, and stay in contact. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.